Welcome to the 599 GTO. Now, how to sum up these cars? This is a different era for Ferrari. You've really sort of you've got the Scuderias, the V8s have got the specialist sort of with less on it, the sort of track day type cars with less in them to go faster. This took this to a whole new level. It's hard to get across how fast these cars are. I mean, this is 6 litre. I think it's like 670, 680 horsepower. This is a quick car. This was the fastest thing Ferrari had made. It came out in 2010, and it was the fastest car around their Fiorano test track. I think it went round in about 1 minute 20 something, which was quicker than the Enzo, which was the previous sort of supercar. So this is you'll have to trust me on this. I've driven a lot of cars. This is a quick car. This is where Ferrari sort of really got going on technology, that we'd got the sort of 599s coming through and things were getting quick. Then we'd got the GTC packs. Now they were adding tweaks and bits and pieces. Then they really got going and put some sort of F1 technology. I mean, we're talking weight saving. They shaved about 100 kilograms off the standard 599 to get this sorted. And to do that, the detail they went to, I mean, things like the exhaust system, rather than having welded joints, it's extruded exhaust, so they saved on the welding. It's got all the current stuff that they had at that day from Formula One in the engine. So you're sort of ceramic coated valves and all the clever technology in a road car. I mean, underneath this thing's a work of art. It's all beautifully done and very delicate. I remember the first time I saw inside the gearbox on one of these is all printed circuit boards and wires inside the gearbox with the oil. I mean, this is bang up to date. Ferrari at its best technology. Okay, so the heart of this thing, I mean, I do admire Ferrari with the way they do their engines. I mean, they are a real work of art. They don't just look at what's on the inside of it. The reason Ferrari have glass engine covers on some of the V8s is because it's so beautiful, and it's just there. It's beautifully done. It's a styling piece of art as well as an engine that produces phenomenal horsepower. And so without going through all the clever bits, it has just got all the bits that the best of Ferrari can have at 2010, 2011 is under this bonnet. This came into an era where customers could really spec their cars. So Ferrari would give you the sort of basic car, so to speak, but the list of extras or things that you could select for yourself, you could turn over and start again. So you're talking all this carbon down the side, so you could do carbon rear quarters, you could do carbon roofs, you could change the colour of the gauges, you've got calipers, you've got wheels. There was an endless list of things that you could tweak your car with. So out of these, they made, 599 of these. So you probably won't find two the same. Because the customers could spec them as they wish, which makes them all different. But when they get right, I mean, you can see this one black with the black carbon. These look aggressive. These look like they're going fast standing still. But again, it's all purposeful. All these things have been designed in wind tunnels and what have you. When you come round to the back, this is state of the art Ferrari technology. These fins aren't here just to look nice. This is all about managing the air movement under the car. Now this has evolved in the road cars. The first car that had this was the 355, had like this little tiny channels. The 360 was a sort of quantum leap. They actually made the rear chassis members and suspension supports the shape of an aeroplane wing on a 360, and you started to get these big diffusers. They really got into air management, managing the air going under the car and out the back to improve the handling at high speed. And obviously when you get to this sort of thing, this is, I think they're clocked at like 200 and something mile an hour, so there's a lot going on at this at 200 mile an hour, so air management really comes into play. But again, Ferrari are the masters of all this sort of stuff. One of the greatest things of the GTR, I think, is the noise. These make probably the best noise of any sort of latter-day Ferrari. They are brilliant. The exhaust system on this is tuned. It's made of special metals. You've got Inconel stuff going on. I've already said it's extruded metal as opposed to welded. This has been really tuned by the Ferrari guys to make this sound. These sound absolutely spectacular. Now, whilst we're at the back, there's obviously the the GTO badging for this car. Now, some people, when it came out, was sort of, was it worthy? This is a 599. Is it worthy of the GTO badge? Obviously, the GTO was the 250 GTO from the 60s, which was massively successful at racing in the day, and obviously went on to be one of the most expensive cars in the world at the moment. The second one was the 288 GTO, which was sort of developed for racing but never really raced. But again, spectacular car. First car to have a carbon fibre panel on it, on the bonnet, so that was a game changer. Now, I personally think this is definitely worthy of the GTO badge. This is, I think, a technological masterpiece. This is everything that's best at Ferrari at the time put into a sort of road car shape, but this is like a race car with number plates. The technology in this, I could read the manual out to you and bore you to death with all the bits and pieces, but the stuff that is in this car is just phenomenal, which creates the whole package. So I think it's definitely worthy of the GTO badge, without a question. Okay, so inside the cockpit of this thing, I mean, again, there's a lot of variations that customers could personalise the inside of their cars. I mean, you can have carbon centre consoles, carbon this, different colour. The list is endless. You'll see all sorts of cars with this on, different colour stitching, different colour rev counters, what have you, which, as I said, you're probably not going to see two of these the same. The other thing that Ferrari started to do, and about the 2000s, they started to... First, they put the plaques on the cars. You get a little plaque sometimes of if they won the Grand Prix season. You'll see 360s and that with it on. On the limited edition cars, they started to number them. Now, this is obviously a special car. You can see on the front here, limited, one of 599. So I'm not sure where this runs in the build sheet for this one. So they made 599. If you look at, generally about 10% of production is right-hand drive, so this is probably one of 60 cars or so, again without looking it up, but generally as a rule of thumb about 10% of factory production is right-hand drive. So again, this is a rare car. So let's fire it up. The emotions this car generates, I mean, we're all car people, we all enjoy our cars, which is why we're involved with these sort of things. The emotions this thing gives you, it's like a spine tingling. So you turn the ignition on, I've got red flashing lights on the top of the steering wheel, I've got lots of testing going on, so we wait for the diagnostics to go through and just say it's okay, hit the red button, and this thing just bursts into life. It's like a sort of snarling monster. It's like, hello, where are we going? It's like the spaniel sort of thing. Right, what's happening? Where are we off to? The other thing you start to look at, I mean, obviously we've got no carpets inside. We've just got aluminium floors, no electric seats, so we're on manual seats. So the weight saving really is important in this car, to shave over 100 kilograms off it. So to talk about how fast this car goes, I know I've sort of mentioned it before, this era of Ferrari, the V8s were quick, the V12s were quick, and now we're suddenly in the realms of, and this sort of started it, you've got the 599 GTO, you've got the F12, the 812, the F112 Tour de France. I mean, they're not just astonishingly fast, they are astronomically fast cars. Being fortunate enough to go on them and being in tracks and stuff on them, because they're far too quick for the road. But when you get them on the track, you really start to understand how fast these things are. And I know I've said before, I'm a sort of carburetor, old school guy, quite happy with my 4Cams and what have you, but you do admire the technology in these things. There is so much going on. You're not just pulling pedals. Whilst you're driving in and pulling pedals, the computers are sorting out the rest for you, and you've got to give them credit. They are very good at doing it. It's an astonishing car. I'm sitting here with a rev counter that goes around to 10,000 RPM. I mean, a V12 that revs to 10,000, I mean, it red lines at 8,500 revs. I've got a speedo that goes to 220 mile an hour, and you think, well, okay, you probably believe this. This is an extremely capable car that really sets the emotions going. Now obviously we've got the Menatino here. This came out in 430s, the first car that had this, that it was driver aid, that you had choice, so you very quickly had slow and slippery, sport mode, race mode, which again don't use very often, and then you start to turn the traction controls and things off that I wouldn't even think of doing on the road in something like this. So it gave the owner and the driver easy access to different preset modes of the car. So if we let's put a gear on this and pull away gently. The first thing you notice, we're going out of our yard here, which is a sort of just sort of concrete drive. You can feel the car is tight and rigid. We're all rose jointed suspension. This is all race suspension. This is very tight, this car. I'm only doing 10, 15 mile an hour, but already you can feel it, thinking, this means business, this car. One of the journalists, several of them have said it's quite a highly strung piece of kit. It's a bit like flying the new jets. They're almost out of control that you fly them, and these are very twitchy, these things. It's on the edge all the time. So you do have to give these a lot of respect. So we're just pulling out onto the road. You just hear the engine. It's like this monster that's under the bonnet. And it's eager, you can feel it. It's like, right, we're off. Where are we going? Come on, let's go. Again, the way it's tuned, you've only just got to flick the downshift and it blips the engine for you. It's like a nice rung rung as you're changing down. This is all about the emotion and the experience being out in these things. As soon as you hit the go pedal, we're off. And I was hardly touching the petrol then, I'm already at 70. So if I hit it hard, this is a 0 to 60 in sort of 3-second car. So almost like the fun time is over so quick that you don't. If we drive around at the capability of the car, we begin doing hundreds of miles, 100, 150 mile an hour. A lot of clients have said with these things that they are worried. They are license losing cars because they are so fast that you're just going to get told if you're out in your 4Cam or your Dino, you're having a bit of fun, you're not actually going that fast. Whereas these things, you start to open them up and we really are going at warp speed very, very quickly. So the reality is you're only ever driving around in about 25% of the capability of the car, which is a hard one. We're just coming up to a roundabout. They were 70, so I wouldn't say it's pointless, but it's a shame that you have to go and hire an airfield or a test track to go for the next bit. Downshift. You can play with the down change all day in this thing. Okay, so here we are back at work, just plouging around. I mean, so this car, we've literally just needed to road test this today. We've just done service, we've done some brake work on this, and we put some new tyres on it. It still had its original tyres on that were now over 10 years old, so he's had some new tyres on it. So we just need to put some miles on, just scrub off the releasing agent and stuff like that. So when the client gets it back, he's not going to be slipping and sliding around in it. So I know we can't really do this car justice drive, because as you can see, it's a phenomenal piece of kit, and to really open its legs, you are going to need a runway or a private test track or something, but it will not disappoint. But it's just something that really stirs the emotions. It's a colossal piece of engineering masterpiece. I love him. I think he's absolutely great. So it must be said, this one really is a cosmic girl.